Story 1. Hey there, folks. So, I've got this eerie prom night story that still gives me the chills every time I think about it. This happened to me back in high school, and trust me, it's as real as it gets. It was a typical prom night. You know, the glitzy dresses, the fancy tuxedos, and the promise of a night filled with unforgettable memories. My date, Sarah, looked absolutely stunning in her elegant gown. We were both excited as we danced the night away, lost in the magic of the evening. As the night wore on, Sarah and I decided to sneak away from the crowded dance floor to get some fresh air. We found ourselves in the school's courtyard, bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight. The night was quiet, except for our whispers and the distant laughter from inside the venue. But that tranquility was short-lived. As we walked hand in hand, we heard a faint, eerie sound. At first, it was just a distant whisper, but it soon grew louder, like a child crying for help. Our hearts raced, and we followed the eerie noise through the darkened school grounds. Eventually, the sound led us to an old abandoned building on the outskirts of the campus. The building had been boarded up for years, but something compelled us to investigate. We cautiously entered, our footsteps echoing eerily in the empty halls. Inside, the air was damp, and the walls seemed to close in on us. The crying grew louder, and we finally pinpointed the source. A dilapidated room on the second floor. We mustered our courage and pushed open the creaky door. What we saw will haunt us forever. In the dim light of a flickering candle, we found a circle of old photographs scattered across the floor. They were all pictures of prom night couples from decades past, eerily similar to us. As we stared at the images in horror, we realized that each couple bore an uncanny resemblance to Sarah and me. The crying, it turns out, was coming from a dusty old record player, playing a mournful tune. We couldn't comprehend how those pictures were so strikingly similar to us, or why they were here in this abandoned building. It was as if we had stumbled into some twisted time warp. Just as we were about to leave, a gust of cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candle. In the darkness, we heard whispers, chilling whispers that seemed to come from all directions. They spoke of love gone wrong, of promises broken on prom night, and of souls trapped in an eternal nightmare. We sprinted out of that place, terrified and shaken to our core. We never returned to that abandoned building, and we tried to forget about that night. But those haunting whispers still linger in our minds. Prom night, the night of enchantment and dreams, had turned into a night of unspeakable horrors. To this day, we wonder if we had stumbled upon a portal to a twisted dimension, or if something malevolent had been watching us all along. So, my friends, be careful on your prom night, because you never know what darkness might be lurking just around the corner, waiting to shatter your dreams and replace them with a terrifying reality. Story 2. Back in the 80s, my cousin attended the same high school I did, and she had her prom night experience etched into her memory. At the stroke of midnight, she was crowned prom queen. The moment she put on the sparkling tiara, a gust of cold wind blew through the gym, extinguishing the dance floor candles. In the dark, she heard a mournful voice whispering her name, and when the lights came back on, she was alone, except for a sinister looking figure in a tattered prom dress. To this day, she swears she danced with a phantom prom queen. Story 3. My best friend's older sister, Lily, had an eerie prom night experience. A fortune teller had warned her of a prophecy. She would meet a mysterious stranger in a blood-red suit who would ask her to dance. The moment finally arrived, and a man matching the description approached her. They danced, but when the clock struck midnight, he whispered an ominous message. "Tonight, your life will change forever." Chilled to the bone, Lily tried to find him again, but he had vanished. 2 years later, she was in a car accident that left her with a permanent scar, just as the stranger had foretold. Story 4. A group of friends decided to have their own prom night celebration in an old, abandoned house deep in the woods. As they danced and laughed, they began to hear strange whispers and laughter from the walls. Panicking, they rushed to the door, but it wouldn't open. Suddenly, the room was filled with ghostly apparitions of prom goers from the past, trapped in a never-ending dance. It took hours for the friends to escape, and they swore they could still hear the haunting music of that ghostly prom night. Story 5. A girl named Emily bought a vintage prom dress from an antique shop for her big night. It was a beautiful gown, but as the evening went on, she felt increasingly uneasy. In the bathroom, she noticed a faded name tag sewn inside the dress with the name Elysia. She ignored it until she started feeling strange sensations, as if someone else was wearing the dress with her. That night, she felt like she was being watched, and when she looked in the mirror, she saw the ghostly reflection of a girl in a tattered prom dress. She quickly changed out of the cursed dress, and the haunting ceased. Story 6. At their prom, a couple found an old ornate mirror in the corner of the venue. As they posed for a picture, they noticed something peculiar. The words "Don't leave" appeared in condensation on the mirror, brushing it off as a prank. They continued dancing. Later, they decided to leave early, but as they walked away from the mirror, they heard a chilling whisper, "I warned you." They turned around to see their own distorted, ghostly reflections reaching out to them from inside the mirror, begging them not to go. Story 7. I was 17 years old, and it was my senior prom night. I had been dating my boyfriend, Mark, for a few months, and we were both really excited for the big night. We had rented a limo and were going to a fancy restaurant for dinner before the prom. I got ready at my house, and Mark picked me up. When I saw him, I gasped. He looked amazing in his tux. We got in the limo and headed to the restaurant. The dinner was great, and we had a lot of fun. After dinner, we headed to the prom. It was held at a big hotel, and it was really crowded. We danced and had a great time. At the end of the night, Mark walked me to my door. We kissed goodnight, and he said he would call me the next day. I went inside and went to bed. I was exhausted, but I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Mark and how much fun we had had. Suddenly, I heard a noise outside my window. I got up and went to the window. I looked out and saw a figure standing in the shadows. I couldn't make out who it was, but I knew it wasn't Mark. I was scared, and I didn't know what to do. I went back to bed and tried to sleep, but I couldn't stop thinking about the figure I had seen. I was so scared that I didn't sleep at all that night. The next day, I told Mark about what I had seen. He didn't believe me at first, but then he saw the fear in my eyes, and he knew I was telling the truth. We called the police, but they couldn't find anything. The figure was never seen again, but I know it was real. I still have nightmares about it sometimes. Story 8. My name is Sarah, and I'm 18 years old. I just graduated from high school, and I'm going to college in the fall. A few weeks ago, I was at my friend's house, and we were talking about prom. She told me about this abandoned prom that she had heard about. She said it was supposed to be really creepy and haunted. I was intrigued, so I decided to check it out. The next day, I went to the abandoned prom with my friend. It was located in an old abandoned building in the woods. The building was dark and creepy, and it looked like it hadn't been used in years. We went inside and started exploring. The building was full of old prom decorations, like balloons and streamers. There was even a dance floor. We started to dance, but it didn't feel right. The atmosphere was too creepy. We decided to leave. As we were leaving, we heard a noise behind us. We turned around and saw a figure standing in the doorway. The figure was wearing a prom dress, but it was old and tattered. Its face was hidden by a veil. We were so scared that we ran out of the building. We didn't stop running until we were safe at home. I've never been back to the abandoned prom, and I never will. I'm too scared, but I still think about that figure sometimes. I wonder who it was and why it was there.